The alarm screamed across the bridge of the Krellian patrol ship. Commander Zixthor stared at his screen with all four of his eyes wide open. His second officer rushed to his side, breathing heavily through his respiratory slits. "Sir, the readings are correct. A human vessel is heading straight for the Forbidden Zone," the officer said. Zixthor couldn't believe what he was seeing. For over 3,000 cycles, every species in the galaxy knew the rules. The Forbidden Zone was death itself. Ships that went in never came out. Signals from that region of space drove crews insane. Ancient races had left warnings carved in stone on dead worlds, all saying the same thing. "Stay away, never enter. Death waits inside." And yet here was a small human ship, moving steadily toward the boundary like it was just another day of exploring. "Get them on communications right now," Zixthor ordered. His voice carried the weight of real fear. He had seen what the Forbidden Zone could do. He had watched sensor recordings of ships that got too close, the way they twisted and vanished, the way their final transmissions were filled with screaming. The communications officer worked quickly. Within moments, a human face appeared on the main view screen. The human looked young by their species standards. He had short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He wore a dark blue uniform with captain's insignia on the collar. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USCS Wanderer. What can I do for you, Commander?" the human said. Zixthor leaned forward in his command chair. "Captain Morrison, you must turn your ship around immediately. You are approaching the Forbidden Zone. No species is allowed to enter that region of space." Jake tilted his head slightly, looking confused. "Forbidden Zone? We haven't received any notifications about restricted space in this sector." "Because no one should need to be told," Zixthor said, his translator struggling to convey his frustration. "The Forbidden Zone has been marked as deadly for thousands of years. It is in every galactic database. How do your people not know this?" A woman appeared next to Jake on the screen. She had red hair pulled back in a tight ponytail and wore the same uniform. Her name tag read Sullivan. "Commander, I'm Lieutenant Amy Sullivan, First Officer of the Wanderer. We're aware of the region you're talking about, but we received a distress signal coming from inside that zone. We have to investigate," she said. Zixthor felt his blood go cold. "Impossible. Nothing survives in the Forbidden Zone. Your sensors must be broken or you are picking up false signals. It happens near the boundary. The zone plays tricks." Jake looked at something off-screen, then back at the commander. "Our sensors are working fine. The signal is clear. It's coming from a human ship called the USCS Horizon. They went missing 6 months ago during a deep space exploration mission." "6 months?" Zixthor stood up from his chair. His forearms spread wide in a gesture of disbelief. "Captain, listen to me very carefully. I have been patrolling this sector for 20 cycles. I have seen dozens of ships vanish into that zone. Some were large warships with thousands of crew. Some were science vessels with the best shields and technology. None of them ever came back. Not one." Amy pulled up data on her console. "Commander, we appreciate your concern, but if there's even a small chance our people are alive in there, we have to try to rescue them." Zixthor's translator made a sound that was close to a desperate laugh. "Your people are not alive. Whatever is sending that signal, it is not your crew. The Forbidden Zone does not let things live. It changes them, corrupts them, uses them." Jake stood up from his captain's chair. He walked closer to the screen and Zixthor could see the determination in his eyes. It was something the commander had heard about humans. They didn't give up. They didn't listen to reason when their people were in danger. "Commander, I respect your experience, but we have our orders and our duty. We're going in," Jake said. "You will die," Zixthor said flatly. "Your ship will be destroyed. Your crew will be lost, and I will have to report to the Galactic Council that humans are foolish enough to ignore 3,000 years of warnings." "Then that's what you'll have to report," Jake said. "Morrison out." The screen went black. Zixthor stared at the empty display for a long moment. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders. "Should we stop them, sir?" his weapons officer asked. "We could disable their engines," Zixthor thought about it. He could fire on the human ship, cripple it, save them from their own stupidity. But the humans had done nothing wrong except choose to be brave or stupid. Sometimes those two things look the same. "No," Zixthor said quietly. "Record everything. I want full sensor data of what happens when they cross the boundary. Maybe their sacrifice will teach other young species to listen to warnings." On the Wanderer's bridge, Jake sat back down in his chair. Amy took her position at the first officer's station. Around them, the rest of the crew worked at their posts. The ship was small by military standards. It carried only 30 people. But it was fast and well-equipped for exploration. "Captain, we'll reach the boundary in 10 minutes, said Lisa Grant from the helm. She was a skilled pilot with short blonde hair and steady hands. "All crew, this is the captain," Jake said over the ship's intercom. "In 10 minutes, we'll be entering a region of space that the galactic community considers extremely dangerous. I won't lie to you. We don't know what we'll find in there. But we have people who might still be alive, and we're going to find them. Stay sharp and trust your training." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Danny Cooper checked his systems one more time. Everything was running perfectly. The antimatter containment was stable. The shields were at full power. But he had a bad feeling in his gut that wouldn't go away. "Boss, you really think the Horizon crew is alive in there?" his assistant asked. Danny wiped his hands on a cloth and shook his head. "I think the captain believes they might be. And that's enough for me." On the bridge, the science officer, Dr. Peter Hayes, studied the sensor readings of the Forbidden Zone. What he saw made no sense. Space itself seemed to fold and twist at the boundary. Energy readings spiked and dropped randomly. It was like looking at chaos given form. "Captain, I'm seeing some very strange readings ahead," Peter said. "The laws of physics seem to be different inside that zone." "How different?" Jake asked. "Very different. I can't predict what will happen when we cross over." Jake took a deep breath. "Then I guess we're about to find out." The Wanderer moved forward. Zixthor watched from his ship, recording everything. The human vessel reached the shimmering boundary of the Forbidden Zone. For a moment it seemed to hesitate, hanging in space at the edge of the impossible. Then it crossed over and vanished from all sensors. Zixthor closed his eyes. Another ship lost, another crew dead. He wondered if the humans would learn from this. He hoped they would, but something told him they wouldn't. That was just how humans were. The moment the Wanderer crossed the boundary, everything changed. Jake gripped the armrests of his captain's chair as the ship shuddered. The stars outside the main viewport twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. Colors that shouldn't exist painted themselves across space. Red turned into sounds. Blue became emotions. The universe stopped making sense. "What the hell is happening?" Amy shouted over the noise of alarms. The ship's lights flickered. Some went out completely. Others burned brighter than they should. The gravity felt wrong. Jake felt light one second and heavy the next. "Captain, this is Danny in engineering." The chief engineer's voice came through the intercom. He sounded scared, and Danny never sounded scared. "Sir, I don't know how to explain this. The antimatter containment should be failing. According to every reading I have, it should have exploded already. But it's stable. More than stable. It's perfect. The laws of physics down here just stopped working the way they should." At the helm, Lisa fought with the controls. Her hands moved fast across the display, but the ship didn't respond the way it was supposed to. "Captain, navigation is going crazy. The computer says we're in 3 different places at the same time. The route ahead keeps looping back on itself. I don't know which way is forward anymore." Jake forced himself to stay calm. His crew needed him to be calm. "Everyone, focus on your stations." We knew this would be different. "Amy, do we still have that distress signal?" Amy's fingers flew across her console. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Yes, sir. The signal is stronger now. Much stronger. It's definitely the Horizon signature. But there's something else, too. Energy readings that don't match anything in our database." Dr. Peter Hayes looked up from his science station. His eyes were wide with a mix of fear and excitement. "Captain, I think I understand what this place is. Space and time aren't just bent here. They're layered on top of each other. We're experiencing multiple dimensions occupying the same physical location." "In simple words, Doc," Jake said. Peter took off his glasses and cleaned them, something he did when he was nervous. "This zone is where our universe touches something else, something that exists outside of normal reality. Imagine if you took a piece of paper and folded it. The 2 sides of the paper touch even though they're separate. That's what's happening here, but with entire dimensions." Another shudder ran through the ship. This one was stronger. The lights went completely dark for 3 seconds. When they came back on, everything had a strange blue tint to it. "Structural integrity holding at 90%, Amy reported. But we're losing power to non-essential systems. Keep essential systems running. Life support and engines only if we have to choose," Jake ordered. Lisa suddenly pointed at the viewport. "Captain, look." Everyone on the bridge turned to look. Through the twisted space ahead, something was taking shape. At first it looked like a ghost, a shadow. Then it became more solid, more real. It was a ship, the USCS Horizon. The vessel hung in space like it was waiting for them. It looked completely normal. The hull was intact, no damage, no burns from weapons or impacts. The running lights were even on, glowing softly in the strange colored space around them. "That's impossible," Amy whispered. 6 months in this chaos and the ship looks brand new. Peter was scanning the horizon with every sensor they had. "I'm picking up life signs. Multiple life signs. Human life signs." "How many?" Jake asked. "All of them. All 23 crew members are showing as alive on my sensors." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the horizon. A ship that had been missing for 6 months. A ship that had been inside the Forbidden Zone all that time. And somehow, impossibly, the crew was alive. Jake made a decision. "Lisa, bring us alongside. Match their position." "Danny, can we dock with them?" "Sir, the horizon's hull keeps shifting. It's like it's phasing in and out of our dimension." "I can try, but I can't promise the docking seal will hold." Danny's voice came back. "Do your best. We didn't come this far to just look at them through a window," Jake said. The Wanderer moved slowly toward the horizon. The closer they got, the stranger things became. The horizon seemed to flicker. One moment it was solid and real. The next moment Jake could see through it, like it existed and didn't exist at the same time. "Opening a channel," Amy said. She pressed the communications button. "USCS Horizon, this is the USCS Wanderer. Please respond." Static filled the bridge, loud and harsh. Then something started to come through. A voice, human, clear, calm. "USCS Wanderer, this is the Horizon. We've been waiting for you." Jake exchanged looks with Amy. The voice sounded normal. Too normal. After 6 months in this place, the person speaking should have been desperate, scared, confused. But instead they sounded like they were expecting guests for dinner. "Horizon, this is Captain Jake Morrison. We received your distress signal. We're here to bring you home," Jake said. There was a pause. Then the voice came back. "Captain Morrison, thank you for coming. We sent the signal hoping someone would be brave enough to enter the zone. Please dock with us. We have much to show you." Something about the way the voice said that made Jake's skin crawl. But they had come here for a rescue. They couldn't back out now. "Danny, you heard them." "Make it happen," Jake said. In engineering, Danny worked fast. The Horizon's docking port kept shifting, but he managed to time it right. The magnetic clamps engaged with a solid thunk. The airlock seal pressurized. According to his readings, it held. "Docking successful, Captain, but I'm keeping a close watch on it. This whole thing feels wrong," Danny reported. Jake stood up from his chair. "Amy, Peter, Greg, you're with me. Lisa, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, you get this ship out of here. Don't wait for us." Lisa looked like she wanted to argue, but she just nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good luck." Jake led his team to the airlock. Security Chief Greg Palmer was already there, checking his weapon. Greg was a big man with dark skin and a serious face. He had fought in border conflicts and didn't scare easily, but Jake could see the tension in his shoulders. "I don't like this, Captain," Greg said quietly. 6 months and everyone's alive? That doesn't happen. Not in a place like this. I know. Stay sharp and keep your weapon ready. But don't fire unless I give the order. These are our people until proven otherwise, Jake said. They put on their environmental suits. The suits were bulky but provided protection and their own air supply. Peter scanned the atmosphere on the other side of the airlock. Air is breathable. Temperature is normal. No toxins or radiation. It's perfect. Too perfect, Peter said. Jake nodded. Suits stay on anyway. He pressed the button to open the airlock. The door hissed open slowly. Beyond it was the corridor of the horizon. The lights were on. Emergency lighting cast everything in a soft blue glow. The corridor was clean. No dust, no debris. No signs of any struggle or damage. Their boots echoed on the metal floor as they moved forward. Greg took point, his weapon raised but not aimed. Amy and Peter stayed close to Jake. Every few meters they checked corners and doorways. The ship was silent except for their footsteps. This is wrong, Greg said again. Where is everyone? Why aren't they coming to meet us? They followed the corridor deeper into the ship. Jake had studied the horizon's layout before the mission. He knew where they were going. The mess hall, that's where the life signs were concentrated according to Peter's scanner. They reached the door to the mess hall. Jake took a deep breath and pressed the button to open it. The door slid open. Inside, sitting at tables like it was a normal day, was the crew of the Horizon. All 23 of them. They were drinking coffee, playing cards, reading books on tablets. Some were talking quietly to each other. They all looked healthy, clean, calm. When the door opened, they all turned to look at the boarding party. And they smiled. Captain Lauren White stood up from her table. She was a woman in her 40s with gray streaks in her dark hair. She smiled warmly at Jake like they were old friends. Captain Morrison, welcome aboard the Horizon. Thank you for responding to our signal, she said. Jake's team raised their weapons instantly. Greg moved in front of Jake, his rifle aimed at Captain White. Amy stepped to the side, covering the other crew members. Peter stayed behind them, his scanner running continuously. Don't move, Greg ordered. All of you stay exactly where you are. Lauren White looked confused. Her smile faded a bit. Captain Morrison, why are your people pointing weapons at us? We're not a threat. We're just happy to see you. Jake stepped forward carefully. Captain White, you and your crew have been missing for 6 months. You were last seen entering the Forbidden Zone. Now we find you here looking perfectly fine, acting like nothing happened. You need to understand why that makes us nervous. Lauren looked around at her crew. They all still had those calm smiles on their faces. None of them seemed scared or surprised by the weapons. They just sat there waiting. 6 months, Lauren said softly. Has it really been that long? Time is different here. It doesn't flow the way it does outside. Sometimes a day feels like a year. Sometimes a month feels like an hour. Amy kept her weapon steady. Captain White, how have you survived? Your ship shows no power generation. Life support isn't running. You should all be dead. We adapted, Lauren said. She gestured around the mess hall. This place changes you if you let it. The zone taught us things, showed us things. We learned how to exist here without needing the things we needed before. Peter was staring at his scanner. His hands were shaking slightly. Captain Jake, I'm reading them as completely human. DNA is normal. Brain activity is normal. They're not infected with anything. They're not being controlled by parasites or technology. They're just people. Then explain how they're alive, Greg demanded, not lowering his weapon. Lauren walked slowly toward them. Greg tensed, but Jake put a hand on his shoulder. Let her speak, Jake said. Lauren stopped a few meters away. When we first entered the zone, it was like you experienced. Everything went wrong. The ship nearly tore apart. We thought we were going to die, but then something reached out to us. Not with hands or words, with thoughts, with feelings. There are beings here, Captain Morrison, living things that exist outside our normal understanding of life. What kind of beings? Peter asked. His scientist mind was fighting between fear and curiosity. They exist between dimensions. In the spaces where reality overlaps, they're not physical like us, but they're not just energy either. They're something else, something we don't have words for, Lauren explained. One of the other crew members stood up. He was a young man with brown hair named Kyle Sanders. They're not hostile, Captain. They were curious about us. They'd never encountered humans before. Most species that enter the zone either die immediately or go insane. But humans are different. Different how? Amy asked. Kyle smiled. We're stubborn. We don't give up. Even when our ship was falling apart around us, we kept trying to survive. That interested them. They decided to help us, Lauren continued. They stabilized our ship, taught us how to draw energy from the dimensional overlap instead of from our reactors, showed us how to exist in harmony with this space instead of fighting against it. Jake looked at his science officer. Peter, is any of this possible? Peter cleaned his glasses again. Theoretically, yes. If there are beings that naturally exist in higher dimensions, they might be able to manipulate the fundamental forces we rely on. They could provide energy directly, sustain biological functions without food or water, but the amount of control that would require is beyond anything we've ever seen. We're not prisoners, Lauren said firmly. We can leave anytime we want. We just chose not to, because we realized something important. The Forbidden Zone isn't what the galaxy thinks it is. It's not a death trap. It's a doorway. A doorway to what? Jake asked. Before Lauren could answer, the lights in the mess hall changed. They didn't go out. They shifted. The color changed from blue to something that Jake's eyes couldn't quite process. It was like trying to see a color that didn't exist. The walls became transparent. Not like windows. More like they stopped being solid. Jake and his team found themselves standing in what looked like infinite space. Stars surrounded them in every direction. But these weren't normal stars. They moved. They pulsed. They formed patterns that seemed to have meaning. "What's happening?" Greg shouted. He spun around, trying to find something solid to put his back against. Lauren's crew all stood up. They moved together, perfectly synchronized. Like they were all thinking the same thought at the same time. "They want to meet you," Lauren said. "They're here." Shapes began to form in the space around them. They were huge. Massive beyond understanding. But they also seemed small and close. Jake's brain hurt trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The shapes were neither dark nor light. They existed in a state that was both and neither at the same time. Peter dropped his scanner. He was staring with his mouth open. "They're multidimensional. I can see parts of them in our space, but most of them exist in dimensions I can't perceive. It's like looking at a shadow and trying to understand the object casting it." One of the shapes moved closer. Jake felt something touch his mind. Not physically. It was like a thought that wasn't his own suddenly appeared in his head. The thought carried meaning without words, understanding without explanation. The being was communicating with them. "Can you hear us?" the thought asked. It felt gentle, curious, not threatening. Jake tried to think back at it. "Yes, we can hear you." "Good, language is limiting. Thought is pure. You are human. We have waited for your kind." Amy lowered her weapon slowly. She was hearing it too. "Waited for us? Why?" The being's thoughts carried what felt like warmth. Almost like amusement. "Because you are different. Other species fear the unknown. They build walls, create forbidden zones. They stagnate. They stop growing. But humans always push forward, always question, always dare." Greg was still tense, still ready to fight even though he had no idea what he would be fighting. "What do you want from us?" "Want? We do not want in the way you understand wanting. We seek understanding, growth, evolution. Your species has potential we have not seen in this galaxy before." Another shape moved closer. This one felt different. Older, maybe. "The species you call the Krellians and others created this forbidden zone long ago. They trapped us here because they feared what they could not control. They saw our power and decided we were dangerous." Lauren spoke up. "But they're not dangerous, Captain. They've had 6 months to hurt us and they haven't. They've only helped us, protected us." "Protected you from what?" Jake asked. The first being's thoughts turned darker. "From the reality of this space. Without our help, your bodies would have been torn apart by dimensional forces. Your minds would have shattered trying to process things they were not designed to understand. We sustained you, made you able to exist here." Peter found his voice again. "You changed them. The crew of the Horizon. You altered them somehow. We did not change them. We unlocked what was already within them. All humans carry the potential to exist in multiple states, to perceive beyond the physical. You are a young species, but your minds are flexible in ways others are not." Jake felt his heart racing. This was first contact. Real first contact, not with aliens that were just different versions of humanity, but with something truly beyond their understanding. "Why did you call us here?" Jake asked. "Lauren said you helped them send the distress signal." The being's thoughts filled with something that felt like hope. "Because we wish to leave this prison. We wish to show the galaxy that we are not to be feared. And we believe humans can help us do that. You are the bridge between our kind and theirs. You can exist in both worlds." Amy looked at Jake. "Sir, this is beyond our authority. We need to report this to Earth Command. Let them decide how to proceed." "Report what?" one of the shapes asked. "That you found beings of pure mathematics and consciousness? That the Forbidden Zone contains the key to dimensional travel and evolution? Your command will not believe you. The Council will declare you insane or compromised." Lauren stepped forward. "They're right, Captain. When we first tried to send messages, they were blocked by the zone's interference. No one outside can verify what we say. They'll think we've been brainwashed or replaced, unless we show them." "Show them how?" Jake demanded. "By accepting their offer," Lauren said. "By letting them help you the way they helped us. By becoming proof that this can work." The being's thoughts surrounded them. "We do not force. We do not control. The choice is yours, Captain Morrison. But know this, when you leave this zone, the galaxy will learn that humans entered and emerged unchanged. They will fear you, question you, perhaps even hunt you, unless you return with proof that there is nothing to fear. That cooperation and evolution benefit all." Jake looked at his team. Greg was scared but holding steady. Amy was thinking hard, calculating options. Peter looked like a kid seeing his first sunrise, full of wonder and terror at the same time. They were 30 people on a small ship, and they had just stumbled into something that could change everything. Jake stood in the impossible space surrounded by beings that shouldn't exist, and felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He was just a captain, just one person. How could he make a choice that would affect all of humanity? "I need to talk to my crew," Jake said out loud. Alone. The being's thoughts withdrew from his mind. The sensation was strange, like a warm hand letting go. The transparent walls started to become solid again. The strange shapes pulled back, giving them space. Lauren nodded. "Of course. They understand. Take all the time you need." Jake turned to his team. "We're going back to the Wanderer. Now." They moved quickly through the corridors of the horizon. The crew they passed still smiled at them, but no one tried to stop them. When they reached the airlock and crossed back to their own ship, Jake felt like he could breathe properly for the first time since boarding. "Lisa, get us a safe distance from the horizon," Jake ordered as soon as they were on the bridge. "Not too far. Just enough space to think." The Wanderer pulled away slowly. Through the viewport they could see the horizon hanging in the twisted space, waiting. "All senior staff to the conference room. Right now," Jake announced over the intercom. 5 minutes later, Jake sat at the head of the conference table. Amy was on his right, Greg on his left. Peter sat across from him. Danny had come up from engineering, still wiping grease off his hands. Lisa had left the bridge to a junior officer. "Okay," Jake said. "Everyone talk. I want honest opinions. What do we do?" Greg spoke first. "We leave. We get out of this zone, report everything to Earth Command, and let them send a proper fleet to investigate." "This is too big for us, and what do we report?" Amy asked. "That we met magic space beings, that Captain White and her crew are somehow alive after 6 months without food or power. Command will think we lost our minds." Peter leaned forward. "The beings are right about that. Without physical proof, we have nothing. And even if we brought back scans and recordings, people will say they're fake, that the zone corrupted our data." Danny shook his head. "I ran full diagnostics on our systems while you were over there. Everything is working better than it should. Our efficiency is up 30%. The engines are running smoother. It's like being in this zone is upgrading our technology just by proximity." "That's not natural," Greg said. "That's exactly why we should be worried." "Nothing about this is natural," Peter countered. "But that doesn't make it evil. These beings claim they were imprisoned here, that the other species in the galaxy feared them. Maybe they were right to be afraid, or maybe they were just scared of something they couldn't understand." Lisa spoke up quietly. "Captain, when I was flying us here, I felt something. The ship was responding to my thoughts before I even touched the controls, like it knew what I wanted to do. That's never happened before. It was amazing and terrifying at the same time." Jake listened to them argue back and forth. He understood both sides. The safe choice was to leave, get out. Let someone else deal with this. But humans hadn't gotten to the stars by playing it safe. "Here's what I know," Jake said, cutting through the debate. "The Horizon crew is alive and seems healthy. These beings had 6 months to hurt them and didn't. They claim they want to work with us, not control us. And if we leave now, we'll never know if they were telling the truth." "That's a big if," Greg said. "What if they're lying? What if this is all a trap?" "Then we're already caught," Amy said. "They could have killed us the moment we crossed into the zone. They didn't. They could be forcing us to stay right now. They're not. Whatever they are, they seem to be giving us a real choice." Peter pulled out his tablet. "I've been analyzing what I saw. The beings exist in at least 7 dimensions simultaneously, maybe more. They can manipulate energy at the quantum level. If they wanted to destroy us, we'd be dead. There would be nothing we could do to stop them. So we're helpless anyway," Greg said bitterly. "No," Jake said firmly. "We're not helpless. We have a choice. That's what makes us human. We can choose to trust or choose to fear, and I'm tired of letting fear make our decisions." Amy looked at him. "So what are you saying, Captain?" Jake stood up and walked to the window. The horizon was still visible, glowing faintly in the strange light of the zone. "I'm saying we contact Earth Command. Tell them everything. Let them know what we found. Then we make our decision based on their response. And if they order us to leave," Lisa asked. "Then we leave," Jake said. "But I want them to know the full situation first." Amy nodded. "I'll set up the communication. It's going to take time for the signal to get through the zone interference. It took nearly an hour to establish a clear connection. When Admiral Christina Bell's face finally appeared on the screen, she looked tired. It was late night at Earth Command. Captain Morrison, your emergency signal came through garbled. What's your situation? The Admiral asked. Jake took a deep breath and told her everything. The distress signal, the Forbidden Zone, the Horizon crew alive and well, the dimensional beings, the offer they had made. He left nothing out. When he finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long time. Jake could see her thinking, processing everything he had told her. Captain, are you and your crew of sound mind? She asked finally. Yes, Admiral. I know how this sounds, but everything I told you is true. I can send you all our sensor data, but I think the zone might corrupt it in transmission. Admiral Bell rubbed her eyes. You're telling me that you've made first contact with extra-dimensional beings, that they've been imprisoned in the Forbidden Zone for thousands of years, and that they want to partner with humanity to prove they're not dangerous. Yes, Admiral. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And the crew of the Horizon? Alive and healthy. Changed, but still human. Still themselves. The Admiral looked off-screen at something, then back at Jake. I have the Council's emergency protocols in front of me. Standard procedure for your situation is immediate retreat and quarantine. We seal off the zone and declare it off-limits to all human vessels. Jake felt his heart sink. Admiral, with respect, that's exactly what the other species did. They sealed away something they didn't understand instead of trying to learn about it. I know, Admiral Bell said, which is why I'm not following standard procedure. Jake blinked. Ma'am? The Admiral leaned closer to the camera. Captain Morrison, humanity didn't get to the stars by following everyone else's rules. We got here by taking risks, by being curious, by refusing to accept that some things are impossible. You and your crew have made first contact with a completely unknown form of life. That's bigger than any of us. What are your orders, Admiral? Jake asked. I'm giving you full authority to make the decision you think is best. For your crew. For humanity. For our future. I trust your judgment, Captain. Whatever you decide, Earth Command will support you. The weight on Jake's shoulders got heavier. He had hoped the Admiral would make the choice for him. But she was right. He was there. He had seen the beings. He had felt their thoughts. Only he could make this call. Thank you, Admiral. I'll contact you as soon as we know more. Be careful, Jake, and come home safe, Admiral Bell said. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. They were all watching him, waiting to hear what he would say. I'm going to be honest with you all, Jake said. I don't know if this is the right choice. I don't know if we can trust these beings, but I know that humans have always survived by adapting, by learning, by being willing to change when change was necessary. He looked at each of them. I'm going back to the Horizon. I'm going to accept their offer. But I'm not ordering any of you to come with me. This has to be voluntary. Anyone who wants to stay on the Wanderer and wait, that's fine. No judgment. No consequences. Greg was the first to speak. Captain, you're crazy. But you're my captain. If you're going, I'm going, Amy smiled. Someone needs to keep you out of trouble, sir. I'm in. Peter nodded eagerly. This is the greatest scientific discovery in human history. I'm not missing it, Danny grunted. My engines are running better than ever. I want to know why. Count me in, Lisa stood up. If we're doing this, we're doing it together. That's what crews do. Jake felt something warm in his chest. Pride, hope, maybe a little bit of fear, but mostly gratitude that he had these people with him. All right then, he said. Let's go show the galaxy what humans are made of. The Wanderer moved back toward the horizon slowly. Jake stood on the bridge with his senior staff around him. Through the viewport, he could see Captain Lauren White and her crew waiting at the airlock. Behind them, in the strange space of the zone, the dimensional beings hovered like living equations. Captain, I'm getting a communication request from Commander Zixthor, Amy said. The Krellian patrol ship is still out there watching us. Jake nodded. Put him through. The Krellian commander's face appeared on screen. His four eyes were wide with shock. Captain Morrison, you're alive. Your ship crossed the boundary over 2 hours ago. We were certain you had been destroyed. We're fine, Commander. Better than fine, actually. We found the Horizon. Her crew is alive and well, Jake said. Zixthor's translator made a sound of disbelief. Impossible. 6 months in the zone and they survived? What did you do? How did you accomplish this? We didn't do it alone. We had help from the beings that live inside the zone, Jake explained. The Krellian commander went very still. Beings? What beings? The zone is empty. It has always been empty except for death and madness. That's what your people wanted everyone to believe, Jake said quietly. But it's not true. There are beings in here. Intelligent beings. They've been trapped here for thousands of years because your ancestors and others were afraid of them. Zixthor's skin changed color. Something Jake had learned meant the Krellian was angry or frightened. You spoke with them? Captain, you don't understand what you're dealing with. Those things are dangerous. They corrupt, they destroy. Or maybe they're just different and different scared you, Jake countered. We're about to find out the truth, and we're going to show the galaxy what we learn. You'll doom your species, Zixthor said. The Council will not accept this. They will see you as a threat. As compromised, Jake smiled. Then I guess we'll have to convince them otherwise. Morrison out. The screen went dark. Amy looked at him. That could have gone better. Or worse, Jake said. At least now the galaxy knows we're alive. Whatever happens next, they can't pretend they didn't know about it. They docked with the horizon again. This time there was no fear. No weapons drawn. Jake and his crew walked through the corridors to the mess hall where Lauren and the dimensional beings waited. Captain Morrison, Lauren said warmly, you came back. Have you made your decision? We have, Jake said. We want to accept your offer. But we have conditions. The being's thoughts touched his mind again, gentle and curious. Speak your conditions, human. Jake stood straight, meeting the incomprehensible shapes with as much dignity as he could. We partner with you. We don't become you. We remain human with all our flaws and strengths. You enhance what we are, but you don't replace who we are. Agreed, the beings thought back. We have no wish to replace you. Your humanity is what makes you valuable. Second condition, Jake continued. We leave this zone together. You and us. We show the Galactic Council that cooperation is possible, that you're not a threat. The beings were quiet for a moment. Then their thoughts came back, tinged with something that felt like gratitude. We have been imprisoned here for so long to leave. To be free, yes, we agree to your terms. Third condition, Jake said. If at any point we want to reverse this, you let us. No arguments. No forcing us to stay connected. The bond we create can be severed if you wish it, the beings confirmed. Though we hope you will not wish it once you understand what we offer. Jake looked at his crew. They all nodded. Amy, Greg, Peter, Danny, Lisa. And behind them, the rest of the Wanderer's crew had gathered. All 30 of them. All ready to take this leap together. Then we're ready, Jake said. The beings moved closer. The space around them began to glow with that color that wasn't quite a color. Energy flowed through the air like visible music. Jake felt it touch him, and for a moment he panicked. His instincts screamed to run, but then he understood. The energy wasn't invading. It was offering, asking permission, waiting for him to accept. Jake took a deep breath and opened himself to it. The sensation was beyond description. It felt like his consciousness expanded in every direction at once. He could suddenly perceive things that had always been there but invisible. Dimensions folding over each other. Energy flowing through the quantum foam of reality. The thoughts of his crew blazing like stars around him. He was still Jake Morrison. Still human. Still himself. But now he was more. He could feel the engines of the Wanderer humming in perfect harmony. Could sense the dimensional beings around him, their thoughts clear and welcoming. Could perceive the fabric of space-time itself and understand, truly understand how it all connected. Around him, his crew was experiencing the same thing. He felt Amy's analytical mind racing with new possibilities. Felt Greg's protective instincts expanding to cover dimensions he hadn't known existed. Felt Peter's scientific curiosity blazing like a supernova, as he suddenly understood things he had spent his whole life studying. This is incredible, Lisa whispered. She was glowing slightly, light shining from beneath her skin. I can see the way through the zone now. The safe paths, the routes that connect different parts of space. Danny laughed from pure joy. The engines. I can talk to the engines. They're not just machines anymore. They're alive, aware, working with me instead of just for me. The dimensional being's thoughts surrounded them all. You see now, this is what we offer. Not replacement. Not control, partnership, evolution, growth. Jake felt his heart beating in his chest. Still human, still physical, but now aware of so much more. It's time to leave this place. Time to show the galaxy what we've become. The two ships, Wanderer and Horizon, began to move as one. The dimensional beings flowed around them like schools of fish made from pure mathematics. Together, they headed toward the boundary of the Forbidden Zone. Outside, Commander Zixthor watched his sensors in horror and awe. The human ships were emerging, but they weren't alone. The things that lived in the zone, the creatures that had been trapped there for millennia, were coming out with them. All weapons prepare to fire, Zixthor ordered. Alert the council. Alert everyone! The humans have released the beings from the zone. But before his weapons officer could target the human ships, something strange happened. The Wanderer and Horizon began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not with words, but with pure data, images, sensations, understanding. Every ship in the sector received it. Every station, every probe. The message was simple but profound. This is what we found. This is what we learned. This is what is possible. Zixthor watched the data flow across his screens. He saw through human eyes what the beings really were. Not monsters, not corrupting forces, but life forms that existed in ways his species had never understood. He felt their thoughts, peaceful and curious. He understood for the first time in his long life that his ancestors had made a mistake. They had imprisoned beings that only wanted to communicate, to learn, to grow. Sir, the council is demanding we destroy the human ships, his weapons officer reported. Zixthor looked at the display. The human ships glowed with energy that came from the dimensional beings. Together, they were creating something new. A bridge between their kinds. Proof that different forms of existence could coexist. No, Zixthor said quietly. Tell the council that I refuse. Tell them to watch what happens next. Tell them that maybe, just maybe, we were wrong about the Forbidden Zone all along. Jake stood on the bridge of the Wanderer as they cleared the boundary. The twisted space of the zone fell away behind them. Normal space stretched ahead. But he could still feel the dimensional beings with him, still sense the enhanced awareness they had shared. Captain, we're receiving hails from over 50 ships, Amy reported. Everyone wants to know what happened. What we did. Open a channel. All frequencies. Let everyone hear this, Jake ordered. When the channel opened, Jake spoke clearly and calmly. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Space Command. We entered the region you call the Forbidden Zone in response to a distress signal. We found our people alive. We found beings that exist beyond our normal understanding of life. And we found the truth. He paused, choosing his words carefully. The Forbidden Zone was never a prison to keep things out. It was a prison to keep beings in. Beings that your ancestors feared because they were different, because they couldn't be controlled or understood. But we've learned that different doesn't mean dangerous. It means possibility. Ships across the sector listened, some with fear, some with anger, some with wonder. The dimensional beings are not our enemies. They're our partners now. Together we're going to show the galaxy what cooperation looks like, what evolution looks like when species work together instead of fearing each other. Jake looked at his crew. They were glowing softly with inner light, changed but still human, still themselves. The Forbidden Zone is now the gateway, and humanity invites anyone brave enough to see what lies beyond. Across the galaxy the message spread. Some species reacted with horror, calling for humanity to be quarantined. Others responded with curiosity, wanting to understand what had happened. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions that lasted for days, but humanity didn't wait for permission. They never had. More human ships came to the gateway, volunteers who wanted to experience what the Wanderer's crew had found. Scientists,